Ken James and Jason McKittrick, brought to you by Cryptocurium.
When the last days were upon me and the ugly trifles of existence began to drive me to madness like the small drops of water that torturers let fall ceaselessly upon one spot of their victim's body, I loved the irradiate refuge of sleep. In my dreams I found a little of the beauty I had vainly sought in life and wandered through old gardens and enchanted woods.
Good evening, folks, and welcome to another episode of Learning Lovecraft. I'm your host, Jason McKittrick, and joining me, as always, the traveler of the Eldritch Path, Mr. Ken James.
Thank you for joining us, everyone.
And that was
This is how I speak now, by the way.
That was the opening line of H.P. Lovecraft's Ex Oblivione, the subject of tonight's episode. But before we dig in, we have another Transmissions from the Void. Okay, so our friends over at the Lovecraft Arts and Sciences Council have recently announced the dates for the 2024 Necronomicon Providence Convention, which will run August 15th through the 18th of next year.
The Lovecraft Arts and
Sciences Council. Yeah, they run.
That's wild.
Yeah, it's awesome. They run. They have a store. It's great, and they run all the events. Good people, led by Mr. Niels Hobbs. Great guy. But in addition to announcing these dates, they have also opened up the ability to book your lodgings at either the Graduate, used to be called the Biltmore, which of course I always stay at, and the Omni. There's a reservation link at a discounted rate, and you can visit the Necronomicon Providence website, and they have a lodging section and has all the details there. So I've booked my room, and if I were you, listener, if you're going to go, I would probably do it soon because they really do fill up fast. And this is the convention that's not to be missed. We go every time. Of course, Cryptocurium will be there, attending as a vendor, and hope to see you guys there.
And when's that, next year?
That's next year. Next August.
All right.
Yeah. I want to clear your calendar. All right, Ken. So, apparently life is more horrible than death.
Or so has been said to me in this story, and by a very similar story to this.
Yeah.
Was this was written after that, right?
This was, we're going in order.
It's just wild that it's like... Anyway, you go first.
Well, before we dive in, this was written in late 1920 or early 1921. It was first published in the United Amateur once again in March of 1921, under the pseudonym Ward Phillips. So maybe he was, just wanted to put it out there and maybe, not be so like, oh, this is one of my stories.
Yeah.
This certainly does dig up Salafius right away, right?
Yes.
But I felt like this one was like a concentrated version of Salafius, and this one is also categorized as a prose poem.
Okay.
Whereas it's not specifically a quote unquote story.
Sure. So,
I liked it because it was more condensed and concentrated down. Like, you seem to have more of his thoughts put together.
Like, right off the bat on this one, I felt more like this was almost like when you're, working the skeleton of your story out. You know, like, it almost felt like the bare bones, like, here's my idea. Yeah. And then he, like, would expand upon it.
Sure.
And, like, that became Salafius or Salafius, as it's been said.
However it's said. We can't pull Lovecraft out of his grave. How do you say this, Howard?
And he's like... Put me back.
Why are you yelling at me?
Death is better. Put me back.
Well, that's according to this. It is. I think it's kind of almost like the opposite, though. Obviously, these feelings that he's having, that he lays out in the story, he's working through, right? Mm-hmm. But he's come back to it, and it's almost like, well, here maybe he felt that Salafius, however you say it, was a little too out. Was a little too out there,
right?
Maybe, and then he kind of condensed it down and said, well, this is what I'm trying to say right here. Like, let's trim off all the fat.
Salafius was, I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I just it was too cute and like harpy.
I didn't find that story cute at all, which is funny.
Well, not like the street parts where he's like roaming around.
No, I mean all of it.
I don't know. Yeah.
No, hey, that's why we're here.
Yeah. It's to disagree.
To disagree on every angle.
Yeah.
I can see why that especially coming off of some other stories that we did before that, to come to some of that flowery stuff. I could totally say, well, it's like this again. But this one, I feel like he still has it all in there, but it's not as... This seems less flowery to me. Maybe because it's just shorter? I don't know.
No, this definitely does seem less flowery. Yeah, this one, like that's what I'm saying. Like this one, it's just bleak to the point. Some guy's just telling me about what's going on.
Right.
And then you get to that point where it's like, I'm like, oh, heaven or hell? Like, I'm like, wait, what?
And the ending is bleak because I feel like in Celephaeus, he... Oh, look, I get to go on to this golden pastures.
This is all for you.
Yeah, exactly.
Schwarby.
Yeah, you're already in Elysium, so... So we get this next passage.
Once when the wind was soft and scented, I heard the south calling, and sailed endlessly and languorously under strange stars. Once, when the gentle rain fell, I glided in a barge down a sunless stream under the earth till I reached another world of purple twilight, iridescent arbors, and undying roses. And once I walked through a golden valley that led to shadowy groves and ruins, and ended in a mighty wall, green with antique vines, and pierced by a little gate of bronze. Many times I walked through that valley, and longer would I pause in the spectral half-light where the giant trees squirmed and twisted grotesquely, and the gray ground stretched damply from trunk to trunk, sometimes disclosing the mold-stained stones of buried temple. And always the goal of my fancies was the mighty vine-grown wall with the little gate of bronze therein.
So it was like getting pretty there for a minute, and then it seems like everything he was like traveling through, and it's like, oh, the undying roses, and it's kind of the splendor of the light, and then all of a sudden it's like everything kind of just like disintegrates in on itself and dies, and he gets to a part where it's like...
Yeah, he's got these like partial ruins where there's these gnarled trees, and then there's this wall that's covered in ivy, and then there's this door, right?
Yeah, the stupid door.
So we've got this, once again, this unnamed narrator, which is the mode, and I like it. And he's close to death, right? He's at the end of his life.
Yeah, he's in my final days, man.
Right, and he seems to be retreating into the world of dreams.
Yeah.
Which, I guess that's what you do, right?
I guess. I'll know when my time's near, when I'm like...
And like we mentioned earlier, we have these idealized scenes of beauty, the ancient gardens, the hidden temples. But he gets to this point where he now no longer wants to return to the real world at all. He sees this walled area covered in ivy that he believes that if he can find the gate and pass through, he'll be able to stay there forever. Right. So that's kind of like that idea of like if you die in your dream, you die in the real world kind of thing. I've read this before, but I was like, oh, like Freddy Krueger.
Right.
Wait, if you die in your dreams, you die in the real world too?
Yeah. Yes. Is this Freddy Krueger? Is that what this is the story of?
No.
Oh,
it's the origin of Inception. I don't know.
I thought I cracked it there.
So we come to this next passage, which kind of is like the little kernel of the story here.
Then one night in the dream city of Zakarian, I found a yellowed papyrus filled with the thoughts of dreams. Sages who dwelt of old in that city, and who were too wise ever to be born in the waking world. Therein were written many things concerning the world of dream, and among them was lore of a golden valley, and a sacred grove with temples, and a high wall pierced by a little bronze gate. When I saw this lore, I knew that it touched on the scenes I had haunted, and I therefore read long in the yellowed papyrus.
So there you have it. I mean, he tells us that, the place that he was at, that he kind of had like a feeling about, that was written about in this yellowed scroll that he finds.
Right.
And I like that. I kind of like that the portion of this line that these sages were too wise ever to be born in the waking world.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, it's cool. But
not good enough. This world isn't good enough to have them.
I just... This kind of stuff kind of falls flat with me because it's the dreamscape stuff again where I'm like...
It's written by a person that longs for escape, so...
Sure. No, I get that. It just... As the...
Glad your life is fantastic. Am I right?
Yeah. Ken Lucky James over here.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it just like, I long for an escape, but not from like, life, or maybe like the small apartment I live in. But no, it's just like...
Yeah.
No, I understand where he's, I guess, coming from and what he's going for. It's just like... it's not my favorite. And like at certain parts where he's just like, oh, I'm piling through, I'm getting there, like, oh, it's this land, it's like, is Creed Can You Take Me Higher playing in the background right now? Like, is that...
I don't think so. No. Electric guitars?
No,
absolutely
you're right.
not. Howard would be like, what?
You're right.
Lutes and flutes.
Yeah.
That's it.
You're right. Sorry, Howard. But no, once we get to this like dream stuff, and he's like wandering, he's like, there's this door, if I go through it, like, I'm like, just go through the door, dude. Walk on through, buddy.
Yeah, well, he does.
Yeah, right.
So this papyrus, it confirms his ideas, right? And he goes on to read on after the passage, and he finds that some of the dream sages wrote gorgeously of the wonders beyond this irrepassable gate, but others told of horror and disappointment. So it's like, you're gonna get this or you're gonna get that. Yeah. It's almost like it's going to be this or it's going to be that, and it
reminded me of in Buddhism. They're like, what is it, the 7 days or the 9? It was 7 days when you're passing through death, when you first go through, and if you get to like stage 5, if you haven't let go of all the life stuff, when you're confronted with all the different demons or whatever they are, if you can't get past and let go of all of that, and you're still holding on to the mortal world, it's forever horror. You're cast into the river, and it's like all that kind of stuff. So that part reminded me of, it's like, okay, he's like, it's either this or it's this. Choice is almost mine because of like, I've so been told it's this, and so been told it's that, and I just felt like that was kind of like the separation of like, are you ready or are you not?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I think that's I think that makes a lot of sense. And he sees this, and this just doesn't deter him at all. He decides to just, go through with it because, he even says right here that no new horror can be more terrible than the daily torture of the commonplace.
It's brutal.
It is, man. Monotony.
Yeah.
Like, what's worse than just doing everything over the same every day? It's what grinds people into paste.
Yeah.
You know, the wage slaves, that kind of thing.
The pressure, though, can turn a piece of coal into a diamond, Jason.
It can, and that's what happens at the end of this story.
Yeah.
Or not.
No.
Then, once again, like in Celephaeus, he learns... It's whatever you want it to be. It's a dream word.
It is.
He then learns of a drug which will take him beyond this particular gate. So he needs to take it so that the gate can be open.
Yeah.
So the next night he takes this drug, and we get this fun closing passage.
Last night I swallowed the drug and floated dreamily into the golden valley and the shadowy groves, and when I came this time to the antique wall, I saw that the small gate of bronze was ajar. From beyond came a glow that weirdly lit the giant twisted trees and the tops of the buried temples, and I drifted on songfully, expectant of the glories of the land from whence I should never return. But as the gate swung wider and the sorcery of drug and dream pushed me through, I knew that all sights and glories were at an end, for in that new realm was neither land nor sea, but only the white void of unpeopled and illimitable space. So, happier than I had ever dared hope to be, I dissolved again into that native infinity of crystal oblivion from which the demon life had called me for one brief and desolate hour.
So, I took that as he took a drug to kill himself.
Okay.
Because it was the dream and the drug pushed him finally through the door. It was a combination of the both that he basically slept forever. Mm-hmm. So he finally pushed his way to the other side, and getting through to that crystal thing that he became. I took that as basically like things breaking down, things hardening, like blood stopping to flow, everything kind of. I just took that as like, okay, right. he was like, oh, this will push me even further, this drug. And it was basically like cyanide or something.
Something that eased his transition, something like that.
Yeah.
And I feel that it was like, this is where the two like, when they told him that there was two ways that it could go, for me it kind of felt like that if you're looking for all this splendor after you die, you're going to be disappointed, because when you go through, it's just nothing. It's oblivion. It's nothingness.
Yeah. Right.
And to him, that idea is more comforting than the endless splendor and beauty, because this would be true and absolute rest.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing else. There's oblivion, nothingness. Yeah. Which, that is kind of peaceful in a way. You know, it's it kind of calls back to when I was researching this, and I was referencing my copy of an H.P. Lovecraft encyclopedia by our man, S.T. Joshi.
Josh, man.
And he mentions that this sentiment is also shared in this essay that Lovecraft wrote. It was called In Defense of Dagon, which was, in short, people have written in about some of his stories, that the way that he writes and his things that he had written at this point.
We've spoken of this a couple times.
So in this essay, he kind of addresses this and says, there is nothing better than oblivion, since in oblivion there is no wish unfulfilled.
That's totally the difference between him and other people, right? Like, because he wasn't one of these people that had a lot of friends and found joy in like things, and like he wasn't like like
at this point,
well, right. So like, you know, so many friends, good times, having, you know, all the stuff that's like, oh, I will miss this. I will miss all the stuff that I will miss. That he has drastically less of that, right? So like, yeah, Oblivion and Eternal Rest seems way better than, you know, the stuff you would miss being alive,
right?
Because he's obviously tortured. He's obviously, you know, doesn't fit in.
Right.
Well, how he's up in his room, tapping away.
He's doing his thing, and you know, this is. You know, this is I think we mentioned from the beginning, this is very short. This is, what, a page and a half?
Yeah.
And, you know, I thought that we should cover it because, you know, it was, it's coming back to something that he clearly wanted to talk about again. And I think he, you know, kind of crystallized his thoughts there. So, we know your thoughts on these dream stories and all that, but what are your thoughts as far as, like, if you were hit with this?
Right.
And let's say you hadn't read Selatheus before, and you're hit with this, you know, is this something that would get your gears going, or is this kind of just...
So it was fast. So I like the overarching concept of it. The theme of it, yes. I like that thought you get to. It's like what we just went over. You know, it's... The eternal rest is better than whatever life has to offer for this person.
Right.
But I think that's a person-to-person kind of thing.
Right.
And I like this better than Selatheus because it's just not so drawn out and like...
Trims the fat.
It does trim the fat, and it's like the other one, it kind of like even like wants to kind of get you more attached to that person and kind of give you an idea of who that person is.
Right.
This is just someone, like, it gets to the point.
Right.
That like this person just hates the waking life, likes it more when he's dreaming because he's not dealing with the other bullcrap.
Yeah.
And he's just like, when I'm dreaming, I'm not dealing with bullcrap.
Yep.
And I wanna go that way, as opposed to wake up and, like, you know, someone knocks on your door and asks you, like, you know, any kind of question. You're like,
anything.
Ugh.
Today?
Yeah.
I don't want to get out of bed.
Do I want to eat? Ugh. You know, any of it. You know.
Yeah, and I think this story does correspond to the time in Lovecraft's life where he was not having a great time.
Sure doesn't sound like it.
Yeah, because we're back to it already. We're back to this.
Right.
And
he's dancing on a hairy edge of something there, you know.
He certainly is, and you know, I think we would have been remiss if we didn't, you know, cover this as well. Because I also wanted to cover that there are some. If you're looking in the chronology of Lovecraft stories, there are a few that a couple of these early ones that I don't know if they add to this journey for us, because there's some things that are they're short. There's some fragments. There was one that was a collaboration, which we will probably come back to at some point, maybe
like in the mixtape section of this podcast.
Yeah, in the appendices.
Yeah, right.
But this one I thought was important because, you know, it's clearly it's on his mind. He wanted to redo it and get some more life out of this idea that he's clearly battling with.
Yeah, because I'm sure other people read the other one and were kind of not getting it at all.
Sure.
And he's like, no, let me put this a little bit clearer.
Yeah.
And even on this one, I'm sure you've heard it. Yeah. I'm sure there's people that do like exhaustive analyzing of like the little things that he's talking about in the dreams, and it's like I'm sure people are like, oh, this is like the Dark Tower for Stephen King. He's telling you it's like that journey through it. It's like, oh, that was this and this is that.
Yeah.
I just think he was getting to that floweriness where he's like, oh, it's really nice here, then it gets bad and grim again.
Yeah.
I think maybe he was also talking about his journey with his own depression, he's like, it's really good right now, I'm seeing these lights and this and that. All of a sudden I come back to the tombs again, and everything's covered in moss, and the trees are ruined, everything's dead again, and here I am again. It's like I want to get back to that part of the path, but I might need to go through that door.
Sure, and I think he definitely needed to write it because that's how he got it out. And even when I said in the beginning, he published this under a pseudonym. It was just Ward Phillips, and I think that's I think that shows a lot, and I think that shows you that maybe people are like, oh, Celophaeus, what's that all about, buddy? And he was like, oh yeah, sorry. So when he got this out, and he still wanted to have it published, because I think that was part of his process to get. I'm writing, well, I might as well send it to these amateur journals and get it in print. But he put it under another name. But I think he's like, maybe he was exercising things anytime he wrote these things out, and that's what I think this was.
I agree.
Yeah, so.
And I think like I was saying, the over-exhaustive analyzing of this one, I don't think you really need to. I think it's pretty much there.
No, this is yes, it's a thinly veiled allegory, and it is still an allegory, and it's also a prose poem this time. But I think this really does need to be covered. But it's very clear what he's trying to say.
Right.
So, yeah, man. I mean, so this was this was a shorter one for us, but that's all I have to say about it.
Right. I mean, my last thing is just being the traveler on the path here. These ones are way more tolerable when they're this size.
Yes, I see that.
Yeah, because it's like I get it, man. You're bummed. I get it, and I want to hear what you have to say.
Yeah.
But keep it tight.
There's not too much more of this, thankfully. And when he does return to this kind of stuff and expresses these ideas, they're much more artfully woven into a more full narrative, and you'll see as we go. Yeah, man. I mean, he wrote it. He wanted it published somewhere, so I think it it deserves to be at least looked at. And
that's my promise. Once again, I'm not gonna hold back of what I feel.
No, please don't. That's what we're doing here.
The listeners and to Jason, I'm gonna be dead honest of how I feel about these stories.
Yeah.
And
does this remind? Now we ask this every once in a while, but does this remind you of anything that you've previously read, watched, anything like that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think. I'm trying to place it of where it's just any time that someone gets colorful about suicide. If that makes sense. Where anytime someone romanticizes the thought.
Adam's Song by Blink-182. Yo!
Woo!
Sorry.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Hey, Howard did it first. Anytime someone gets, talk artsy about the concept, it just brings me to that, and I get the same feeling.
Sure.
I always get that same pit of it's just like, oh man, I feel bad for you, dude. I don't know. You try to stay as far away from those thoughts as possible. And distance yourself every year. Get better, more comfortable, more calm, more relaxed in your life. Try to brush that stuff up, but then it just hits, and I get it. But in the same breath, I always feel like, ugh.
Well, I mean, it's just like when we're reading some of his stories, later on, where we get to these, these heights or depths of terror, whichever way you want to look at it. He's good at it, and I think he's also good at this way. He's trying to give you these, you get in these dreamy ways about yourself, where, if you do get into these depressed states, you kind of do detach from reality a little bit.
Right.
And I can speak from personal experience.
Same.
And you kind of romanticize, what would it be like if just, but then eventually you do come out of it and you come back to it.
Right, and that's kind of the pit. The pit is going back to when I've been there, when you feel that, and it's almost a nausea. It's almost a sickening, when it's like when you think about last time I did this, I was wasted, and you get that sick.
Yes.
And you're like, oh. Yeah. You're like, okay, we don't do that anymore.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? And that's the feeling that it brought me, and that's why I don't enjoy him so much.
Yep. And you know what? And I think he probably was keying on the same thing, because he's having these interior journeys in his mind. He's having these dreams, and he's like, oh, I came to this part, and I was like, oh, that's this. Yeah. Coming, these ivy covered, and here's this door that's hard to find, but he does find it, and he gets through it, and it's Oblivion. Yeah. And it's like, maybe that door is hidden on purpose, because you're not really supposed to go there until you're ready.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and once again, it's like I said, it's of course, it's well written, it's well worded. It's just when he's like talking about them in dream, and like it's him working out his emotions, and I just. I'm not going to say it's a bummer, which it is, but it's also like I said, it just brings me back to that bad taste in my mouth. Sure, you taste the sick, and once again, his words, he's able to do that. He's able to convey that and put that in me. Yeah, which is like, once again, it makes it real, and it makes those feelings real because he's so good at working on your brain in that way, and like you reading it just puts a roadmap to those parts of your brain where you're like. Okay, there again.
Yeah, man. I think that says it all. So I want to just give some thanks to a few folks that reach out to us with some nice feedback. Absolutely some constructive and positive feedback. So I think I mentioned this in maybe the first or second episode, and maybe I just forgot, but there's a decent number of folks going on this journey with us. Yeah, and I think this is really cool. We had folks reach out, and I wanted to put in here that going forward, I'm going to let you know what the next episode was. I somehow that got lost in the sauce in the last couple episodes. And hey, like I said from the top, this is new to us. We're we are not scholars. We are not scholars.
Especially me.
Especially me too, please. So. Next episode, you should be reading up for the story "The Nameless City." Oh, good one. From here on out, I'll let you know what the next story is, and just really want to say thanks to everybody that's that have given us some good feedback. I didn't know what to expect for folks who were going to be listening along, because I've noticed with podcasting and stuff like that, you can see the numbers that are downloaded, but not everyone reaches out to your Instagram or your Facebook
or your email.
Yeah. Some do, but then Ken started letting me know these numbers are going up. I was like, oh wow, and then we were getting comments, and then the last couple weeks we're getting emails and messages, and I was like, wow. So this episode's dedicated to to you folks, because I'm glad you're enjoying where we're going, and I'm glad you're tolerating our. Hey, we're just two guys talking about this stuff, and we're trying to have we have a mission here. We're having Ken learn Lovecraft, but we're also trying to have a good time, because we're two really good friends who just sit down and want to talk about this stuff, and I'm glad we have this fertile material to fuel the conversation.
We can only talk about ghosts and monsters so much, you know?
So now we're going to talk about tentacled ghosts and monsters. So this week's episode is dedicated to all you folks that reach out to us.
Thank you so much, guys.
Yeah, we really appreciate the support. So man, that's going to do it for this episode of Learning Lovecraft. Thanks for joining us. I've been your host, Jason McKittrick.
And I've been Ken James.
And we'll see you beyond the Wall of Sleep.